Imagine a soldier returning home after years of war. The battles are over, the weapons are silent, and everyone around him thinks life can finally go back to normal. But for him, the war never ends. His nights are filled with nightmares. His days bring sudden panic attacks, anger outbursts, and broken relationships. This is trauma, an invisible wound that medicine alone could never heal. And this is exactly what Dr. Bessel Kolk explores in his groundbreaking book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's a story about how trauma doesn't just live in the mind, but in the body itself. Your heartbeat, your breath, even your muscles remember the pain long after the event has passed. And yet, this book also shows us something powerful. Recovery is possible, and healing can begin when we understand how deeply the body keeps the score.
Part 1. Rediscovery of Trauma.
In Part 1, Dr. Kolk takes us back to one of the darkest chapters in modern history, the Vietnam War. Thousands of young men returned home, not just with physical scars, but with wounds no one could see. They looked fine on the outside, but inside they were trapped in endless battles, nightmares, flashbacks, panic attacks. Back then, doctors didn't have a name for it. Some called it shell shock, others thought it was weakness. But Kolk shows us something deeper. Trauma actually reshapes the brain. It changes how memories are stored, how the body reacts to danger, even how emotions are felt. For many veterans, the war never ended. Their brains stayed in survival mode, constantly alert, constantly preparing for a threat that wasn't there. Imagine trying to live a normal life, but your body still believes you're on the battlefield. This is the rediscovery of trauma, realizing that trauma isn't just about what happened in the past, it's about how the body and brain keep reliving it in the present. And the lesson from Vietnam is bigger than war. It tells us that trauma can come from anywhere. Childhood abuse, accidents, loss, or violence. The brain doesn't forget. The body doesn't forget. That's why healing must go beyond medicine. It must reach the nervous system, the memory, and the body itself.
Chapter 2. This is your brain on trauma. When the brain senses danger, the body reacts instantly. The alarm system switches on, even before you have time to think. This is survival. But trauma rewires these survival circuits in a destructive way. The amygdala, the brain's smoke detector, becomes hyperactive, scanning for threats that aren't really there. A door slamming, a sudden movement, even a smell can feel like danger all over again. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that reasons and tells us we're safe, shuts down. Logic and calm vanish. That's why trauma survivors often feel trapped in constant alarm, even when they're sitting in their own living room. Dr. Kolk explains that trauma doesn't just live in memory. It hijacks the body. The nervous system stays stuck on fight or flight, flooding the body with stress hormones. Heart racing, palms sweating, muscles tense, as if the war never ended. As if the body refuses to stand down. This is why so many survivors say, "I know I'm safe, but I don't feel safe." The brain and the body are no longer in sync. Trauma separates thinking from feeling. And healing begins only when the two can be brought back together. Chapter 3. The Minds of Children. Trauma doesn't only shape the lives of adults. Some of the deepest scars are carried by children. When a child grows up in an environment of abuse, neglect, or violence, the world never feels safe. Their developing brain learns to live in survival mode instead of curiosity and trust. Dr. Kolk shows us that childhood trauma isn't just a memory that fades. It's a blueprint written into the nervous system. These children often struggle to form healthy attachments. They may grow into adults who find it difficult to trust, to regulate emotions, or to feel truly at peace. The effects reach even further. Research shows that childhood trauma can change how the immune system functions, increase the risk of heart disease, depression, and addiction. The body literally keeps score, carrying the echoes of those early wounds for decades. But there is also hope. Healing begins when children are given safety, stability, and love, sometimes for the first time. Therapy, play, supportive relationships, and safe communities can slowly rewire the brain, helping them feel that the world is not only dangerous, but also nurturing. The lesson is clear. When we protect and heal children, we don't just change one life, we change generations. Chapter 4. The Imprint of Trauma. Trauma memories don't work like normal memories. They're not tidy stories with beginnings, middles, and ends. They come back as flashes, a smell of smoke, a sudden noise, a tightening in the chest. The body relives what the mind tries to forget. Dr. Kolk explains that trauma is stored in sensory fragments, pieces of experiences that never get processed by the rational brain. That's why survivors often say, "It feels like it's happening all over again." The memory isn't just in the past, it's alive in the body, waiting to be triggered. Imagine hearing a car backfire, and suddenly your heart races, your breath shortens, your muscles tense, not because you're in danger, but because your body remembers a danger that once was. This is the imprint of trauma, a body that keeps reacting to an old threat long after the threat is gone. Traditional talk therapy often fails here. You can't simply think your way out of trauma because the rational brain isn't the one in control when fear takes over. Healing, therefore, has to start not only with words, but with the body itself. Kolk shows how practices like yoga, mindfulness, breathwork, and EMDR can help reconnect the mind and body. These therapies don't erase the past, but they help integrate it, allowing survivors to feel safe again in their own skin. In the end, this part of the book teaches us something profound. Trauma is not about weakness, and healing is not about forgetting. It's about reclaiming control over your body, your breath, and your present moment, one heartbeat at a time. Last chapter. Paths to recovery. Here's the part of the body keeps the score that gives hope. Recovery is possible. Dr. Kolk reminds us that trauma doesn't have to define a life. It can be healed, layer by layer. But healing doesn't come from talking alone. You can't just tell your story and expect the pain to disappear, because trauma lives not only in the mind, but in the body. That's why Kolk introduces a new kind of therapy, one that listens to the body. Practices like EMDR, yoga, mindfulness, breathwork, and even theater allow people to safely reconnect with themselves. Through movement, rhythm, and expression, survivors begin to calm their nervous systems and rewrite their inner story. He shares real stories of patients who once felt completely broken. Veterans, abuse survivors, children, who through body-centered therapies learned to breathe again, to sleep again, to feel joy again. These aren't just exercises. They are ways to restore ownership over your body and emotions, piece by piece. Recovery isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning to live fully in the present. When the body feels safe again, the mind follows. When the breath slows down, the world stops feeling like a threat. And little by little, that unbearable weight of trauma begins to lift. As Dr. Kolk says, the body keeps the score, but it can also tell the story of healing. And that's the message. Healing isn't linear, but it's possible, and it starts with listening to what your body has been trying to say all along.
The Body Keeps the Score is more than a book about trauma. It's a guide to healing, showing us that the body remembers, but it can also recover. If this message spoke to you, the full book link is in the description. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep book insights.